everyone. I am Camille Miller, the founder of the Natural Life Business Partnership, a global network for soul-centered entrepreneurs. I welcome you back for another episode of Six Figure Souls, Doing Good and Making Money, our online summit. Today we are with Monica Monfre, an Instagram specialist and also a business incubation coach out of New York. So welcome, Monica. Love having you with us today.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, I chose Monica because she started a very interesting business. And also because we don't have a lot of people talking about Instagram and other things other than social media and how you build businesses and create community and everything around that. So I thought it would be kind of an interesting story and something a little different for our listeners. So Monica, let's start off with a little bit about your background and what you did before launching the Instagram strategy business.
Yeah, so I actually had been in education for almost 20 years. I started off in higher education and then became a high school teacher in Washington, D.C., and then later here in New York. And that really has kind of solidified or helped to create my style of how I work with my clients. But it was while I was teaching that I really decided to learn about social media, less in the sense of like, what am I doing, but how it could help connect me to my community. And so when I decided to become a yoga teacher a few years ago, Instagram was like the way that I started creating my courses. It's also where I found a lot of my clients because teachers of Instagram is like a really big deal. I never would have expected that to be kind of where my community was living at, but that is how I used my teaching experience to move me into the space where now I am an entrepreneur.
I love it. So I'm just curious because I don't use a lot of Instagram. So a lot of people say like the Instagram market is a younger market. So if people have younger markets, is that a good space to be in?
It absolutely is a great space to be in if you have a younger market, as well as if you have a market. I'm going to give away my age right now because I think it's always, people always do a double take. I'm actually 42 years old. I'll be 43
Wow.
this year. And so when I talk about Instagram, I talk about it from a place of I didn't grow up with it. I didn't grow up with social media. I remember Facebook when you still had to have like .edu because you had to be a college student to get onto Facebook.
Wow.
I remember MySpace and Friendster. So my experience with Instagram is not one of growing up with it. It's one of learning it. And so I actually, as I mentioned, I started teaching yoga when I was 39. And so I was on Instagram. And I say on Instagram because I posted really blurry pictures of myself after brunch.
Okay.
But it was like at 39 that I really started to harness the power of Instagram and started to figure out, how I could use it to grow my first business, which was yoga, and then moving into more of the business coaching, and then now really working with people to grow and develop their Instagram. And my average age of my client is in her 40s.
Wow. That's a big difference. That's a big difference because I always used Facebook. Well, I can't say I use any of them well because I grow mostly word of mouth. But I always thought of Instagram as being so young and like Facebook being kind of old because I usually find people in their like second career, their next part of life. But I have had a lot of people that asked about Instagram. Like, are you on Instagram? So we have kind of a pseudo account. I don't really use it. But
I
so
feel like TikTok is the new one.
TikTok's a new one. I'm not there. So tell me how you started to develop the business of Instagram. So how did you start finding clients? How did you start creating and developing this business?
Yeah, it came out of a very interesting space. Before I was even doing Instagram, I was really doing course creation, which lined up well with my experience as a teacher.
Okay.
But I was selling my courses out using Instagram. So before I even started teaching people about Instagram, I was starting to harness it and see, wow, I was making all my sales coming through Instagram stories. And I was like, this is really powerful. And so I started to dive more into it and learning all the tips and tricks of how to use hashtags and how to really use engagement groups, even though they're not the best thing. There are a great way is you're starting to harness, like, how do I get more growth and how do I move away from just having hearts, which is liking, versus to have real comments.
Okay.
And I hadn't even considered this to be a business. It's actually, this section of my business is fairly new. Before, it was really based in the course creation. But I was sitting at an event. I co-work out of a space called Luminary here in the city. And I was sitting there talking to another fellow luminary, and she's 52. And she was saying, like, we were at an Instagram page. She's like, Monica, I don't understand what this woman's saying. Like, break it down. And I just took her phone and I did a really quick story. And she was like, she's like, I'm your client. You need to start to talk to me. And so literally my Instagram business came out of me sitting next to someone, taking her phone and doing a story for her.
Wow.
That led me to start to do, because before I had talked about social media, like all the different platforms, but that really led me to zero in on Instagram. And out of that, you know, we talk about course creation. I'm sure you've had other course creators on here. You create a course before you're ready. And so I decided to create my signature course, which is called Gram and Grow Collective, literally after sitting with that fellow luminary, and was like, here it is. And I sold it out the first round in 10 days. It was just like a really quick, because it was launching in 10 days. Like it sold, you know, it started and it just went crazy. And so from there, I now work one-to-one with clients, as well as having this growing online community.
And that's amazing. So I'm just curious, your first course you had, was it an online course? Was it all like pre-recorded, or were you actually talking with them?
It was a mixture. It was for teachers. So it was about
Okay.
teacher self-care. And so it was 8 weeks. I overplanned. Like anyone, I'm sure, thinks about, you have so much information that you want to get out to people.
Yeah.
And so the very first course that I sold out through a beta version was all through Instagram. So it was an 8-week course. It was $500 a person, which would have been $1,000 if I had decided to go through with it after that. But it was my first foray. And I was surprised at how quickly I was able to harness just talking to a camera and telling people about what I was offering. And the yeses came in really quickly. And they weren't just friends. Like one of the women that did it was in my network. We had met through another networking group, but otherwise the people who responded yes weren't people that I actually knew. And so it just kept bringing in new clients. And from there, you know, have just really dove into offering smaller events. And so for me, when I think about Instagram, it's not just about the post. In fact, like the thing I hate about Instagram is actually the posting.
Okay.
It requires you to write copy, but I found all of my clients in Instagram stories, which for me is the funnest part about it, because I love being on camera. I know not everybody loves being on camera, but I love it.
So for people that are watching this not familiar with Instagram, can you tell them the difference between like what is an Instagram story, what is a post, and like why they matter?
Absolutely. There's 3 parts to Instagram.
Okay.
The post, like the static picture with all of the copy. Those are the things that people think, oh, this is so like, I don't have a great photographer, or I don't have the right lighting, or like, I don't know what to say, or to post 3 times a day, which is also not true. So the post is the static post. Those are your squares. That's your grid.
Okay.
So that's a very important part of your Instagram. That's where people come. And I always tell people, if we think about it in know, like, and trust, your Instagram post is where people get to know you. They get to see a picture of you. They get to read what you're writing. They might engage with you. But a story it was basically Snapchat came around and Instagram was like, how do we compete with Snapchat? Which, if you're not familiar with Snapchat, was you could videotape something, it would last for 24 hours, and then it would be deleted.
Right.
And so I was teaching high school at the time, lots of younger people were on Snapchat because it was a great way to like
My kids
be
were.
fun, and then it would go away. So Instagram's answer to that was the Instagram stories. And so an IG story is a short, you have up to a minute to videotape yourself talking, speaking, sending in pictures, and it lasts for 24 hours and then it disappears. Or you can save it to your highlight reel. And Instagram stories are the way that people get to like you, because for me, I get to be fun in my stories. I used to walk to work. It was a 5-minute commute. And so every morning I'd get on and I would do my 5-minute commute and just pop on and say like, hey guys, good morning. It's sunny out. It's not sunny out. Have a great day. And then I would hashtag a 5-minute commute. And I really thought no one cared about that, except my friend was like, why aren't you doing the 5-minute commute anymore? Because our attention spans, unfortunately, are about 9 seconds.
Right.
And so Instagram stories give you a really quick way to talk. It's also, as an entrepreneur, helps you to zero in on your your elevator pitch, because you only have a minute to like really communicate with people. So I love Instagram stories. It's how I tell everyone to start their business. In fact, I did a story last week and I sold a spot in my course within 5 minutes.
Wow.
Now, and of course, like that is practice, right? It doesn't always happen that the first way, but just like getting to learn what to say and how to hashtag it. And then of course I built up my community. I don't have 10,000 either. I want to make that very clear. I don't have a swipe up yet. I don't think you need a swipe up. You can buy a swipe up. You can buy a Instagram ad. And a swipe up is where you can have somebody can click on your post and go directly to your sales page.
Gotcha.
So it's kind of like a Facebook ad, but it's on Instagram. And so if you have 10,000 or more followers, you get that for free. A lot of people work to get to 10,000 followers, but don't end up having the social engagement.
Gotcha.
Don't end up having the buyers. So that's what an Instagram story is. And then there's a third part, which is really, it's the answer to YouTube, which is called IG Live, which can be turned into your Instagram TV. So a lot of us maybe have heard about Instagram TV. That's where you can talk for longer. So an IG Live is 60-minute video of yourself talking, kind of what you do like on a Facebook Live where you can answer questions. And Instagram recently has turned that where you can now upload that as a video. And so you can create like a TV channel for yourself. And that's where you can have another link, because one of the things that whenever I ask people, what do you hate about Instagram? People who are our age, they're like, I hate that I have to be so active on it. And I hate that I can only have like one link. And you can actually have more than one link if you use IGTV.
Okay, gotcha.
A little secret. I will say this, I don't like to do things for longer than like 5 minutes. And so IGTV has been my area of growth, because we always have areas of growth.
That's interesting. That's really cool. So, I was going to purpose in my head, but so what are some like core values that were really important to you as you started to grow this entrepreneur side of you?
It's not only the giving back. So again, remember I started off being a teacher and wanting to help teachers stay inside the classroom, and very quickly realized that my teachers are great clients, but they weren't my ideal client. They weren't helping me get to that 6-figure number. But that didn't mean I wanted to let go of my values. And when I really got serious about this business was also the same time that I found out that my sister was diagnosed at the age of 27 with stage 4 metastatic triple negative breast cancer. And I also found out that I was BRCA1 very soon after that. So I have an 87% chance of getting breast cancer. And so I really got serious about Instagram because I realized that, number one, I might need to make some changes on where I live. I currently live in Brooklyn and she was in Wisconsin. My family is in Wisconsin. And so what if I needed to gain freedom, financial freedom, time freedom, location freedom? That's hard to do when you're a teacher. When you're committed to some place, it's hard to like get up and leave.
Yeah.
So that's been a huge part of why I started this, but also for my own health and wellness, knowing that like there might be a time when I have to be out. I wanted to think about my business as something that I could be creating now so that in the future I could already have created this. And it's a lot of my values come from freedom of time, freedom of location, and then wanting to do good. And I loved it when you talked about that earlier. Wanting to be able to give back. And I grew up always hearing that you had to go to college, you had to get a master's degree. The only way to make 6 figures was to go into this like triangle that we know is very small at the top. And what I love about the work that I do is that when I decide to get serious about my business gets very serious. And so for me, that's a huge part of my values. And then one thing that I've always maintained is how can we do good and help bring others up? And so part of my business model is 10% of what I make, I use to help to pay creators on Instagram who are talking about anti-racism, because a lot of people put out content on Instagram and we absorb it as if it's free, as if it is not a big deal. What Erica Hart's doing, or not a big deal what the Conscious Kid is doing. It takes a lot of time to put out content, and then people don't always pay. So I try to use 10% of my sales to just send a small amount of that money to a different content creator on Instagram who is educating many of us for free.
I love that. I did not know that. Or if
the new little star to my business.
I love that. Absolutely. Now, do you consider yourself a soul-centered person?
Absolutely. So I created a signature framework, which I created it and then I never talked about it. So my signature framework is called Start with Self.
Oh,
And self, I'm also a yoga teacher, so it comes from
great.
this idea that self is the one true teacher, but
Right.
then self also stands for soul. So we have to start with our soul. E is for energy. What's our energy bringing to us? Everybody says you have such a great energy. Well, not always. So how can you be inside of your energy? L stands for love and lead. So how can we love what we do and then also be a leader to everyone that we are working with? And then F stands for fun, because if our business isn't fun, then I don't know that I could be in there. And I find Instagram to be fun. So everything starts with soul, and from there we like work outwards in that.
Oh, gosh, that's so beautiful. So tell me more about your business. Do you have people that work with you, or is it just you? I know you told me that you had a copywriter, right?
I am working with a copywriter to get better at that. Right now, I am basically a solopreneur. However, I recently decided to start to work with a virtual assistant. And so I have hired a virtual assistant, and we're working together. It started off as a bartering. And I think oftentimes when you're thinking about how to make things work, you
Yeah.
barter with people. But again, I've
Yep.
also realized when we energetically exchange something. And so really being able to look at my business hard and think like, how much money can I afford to pay someone? And what I've realized is I started to love my business more because I was giving to her the things that I didn't love to do. And I wasn't feeling guilty about it before. I felt like the bartering, like I was getting more than I
Yeah.
was getting. And so I have hired a virtual assistant, and feels really amazing to like, she also keeps me on my toes, because one thing as a solopreneur is you can be really there's so many ideas. And so I'm actually expecting, I just got a message that was like, can you please give me the post for our Facebook group? So I have hired someone, and I'm looking to grow within the next month or two to another person to help me really write the things that I don't like to do and to take care of my money, because I don't know my numbers as well as I should. And that's funny that I say that, and I'm like, you know, the
You're
things
not
that we
alone
don't
with,
like.
yeah, you're not alone with that. I
Yeah.
find that a lot of entrepreneurs I work with, especially because like I worked with the soul-centered entrepreneurs, so they're really about their gift, their love, serving others, like just, wanting the freedom and the flexibility and allowing, and the money just is another form of energy that flows to them or away from them, right? It's like kind of how you harness it. So it's very common for entrepreneurs to like hate the billing part, hate the hate that piece of it, right? So the first person I hired wasn't even a hire. When I opened, I also had a finance person who's been with me since the day I opened, set up my books for me, same person, just because it's just not something that I enjoy. So that was my first. But
I
I love,
think we always think that like we don't have the money to do it, but the thing is like I don't have the time to do it. So I'm
yeah,
spending a lot of time on something that I could be getting more serious about my business and trying to, keep on hitting six figures and keep on moving past them.
absolutely. And I think what you said was so important is that you give away the stuff you don't like to do. Right? So I work a lot on my website, and people like give that away. I was like, guys, I enjoy it. For me, it's my creative side. I like doing it. So I keep this stuff. I can't stand math numbers, so I give all of that away, and I just do the high level of it. Um, so it's kind of interesting. I don't like writing, so
Mm,
I either give that away or get other people to do it, or have guest writers to do stuff, because I think you
yeah,
just kind of stay in your genius when you are very passionate about what you're doing. And it sounds like
100%. I'm trying to, what I'd like to do also with the copywriters, I don't mind writing my copy, but I want someone to format it and make it look
you're pretty.
pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like let me word vomit all the things. Which actually I get a lot of people who on Instagram who that's what they don't like, and they don't know what to write. And I always say, I love the app Otter, which is really powerful if you're on Instagram. You're like, I don't know how to get it's a lot of us get caught up in trying to write short things, but if we use Otter, we just word vomit. Otter creates like a cool post that then you can just cut out the parts of it and copy and paste it over to your Instagram, and you have it's a really powerful way. When I find people who are very resistant to writing the captions, I'm like, use Otter. It's super helpful.
I love that. So what do you see the future of your business? Like, do you have a plan where it's going or how you're going to grow it?
Yeah, so right now I'm running the Grammar Girl Collective, which has been a live group program, and I'm hoping to move that into the next steps will be for that to be evergreen, with then having to get me on the phone is a little bit more of a commitment energetically with regards to money. And the next thing that I'm looking at putting into place are VIP days. So half and full day VIP days where you can work with either to get your Instagram, like let's just sit down and plan out your next month of content and make it happen, or I'm working on creating your course. So I feel like I've learned a lot from both my experience as a teacher as well as how to create a course very quickly on the go. And there's a lot of us who get stuck in creation mode. We keep creating, but we never do. And so helping people to do. And then hopefully what will happen is in the next few months, I'm looking to also offer a high-level mastermind. Part of this is being a business incubation coach is working with women, especially women who are over the age of 35, and how to move from 9 to 5 to side hustling and then to full entrepreneur. And so that is the next, that's the next projection. What I want to be really careful of is I don't want to jump too quickly into a mastermind and leave behind what I feel really good at, which is Instagram, and feeling like I really want to make people feel really great about Instagram. And so that will always be a part of the mastermind.
So is the mastermind more about general business, all business, being an entrepreneur, or does it have a big component of Instagram in it?
It would have a big component of like Instagram. It's really going to be focused on how to grow your business. So the name of my company is Teach Wealthy, and the wealthy is spelled WELLTHY for wellness and staying whole. So it'll really be centered around that framework of self and staying well. And then how do we get wealthy while staying wealthy?
I love that.